Well, hello and welcome. I'm Gustavo Tolosa, the host for this ebook club that we have, and your Start Solution coach. And I'm very glad to see you all again. This is session number 9, and we have one more. There will be a total of 10. And then there might be a couple of very practical sessions as well. But we will finish the book in session 10. So I want to welcome you today. And I have a question. I should say I have an answer to a question posted about 2 weeks ago from someone that asked about smoothies. And the question was if they are okay to drink, to have, or if we recommend, or if Dr. McDougall recommends not to use. So I will attempt to answer this question, knowing that there is not a one size fits all. We're all different, like we mentioned the first session, and we all have different goals, and we're all at different times in our journey through this plant-based, whole food, plant-based way of eating. So I went and I looked at what Dr. McDougall said, which you can do that as well in the website. I also went and saw what Dr. Esselstyn says, one of my other heroes, whom I have also interviewed in my YouTube channel. And I went and I looked in his book, the How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. You can buy his book. You can also watch his videos about this. And so let's see here. Okay. Let's say hello to everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. I always have a replay, so you don't have to worry about it if you cannot make it in person. And so I have Dr. Esselstyn's cookbook, which is this. I also have the actual book. And here there is on page, I think it's 38. It says, what about, let's see, hold on just a minute. How about smoothies? Dr. Esselstyn says, avoid smoothies. The fiber is too finely pureed and rapidly swallowed without the benefits of mixing it with helpful bacteria in the mouth. The sugar is separated from the fiber of the fruit, bypasses salivary digestion, and results in a surge of glucose. The fructose enhances inflammation and causes endothelial injury. Chew your food. So we have to be careful here not to generalize too much. Here, Dr. Esselstyn is talking about serious cases of patients that he has had and has that have serious heart disease. The endothelial cells lining the arteries are terribly, badly damaged. A lot of inflammation in these arteries. And so if someone doesn't have any, or if a young person that doesn't have any, or maybe even an older person that has no damage in the endothelial and nothing, no heart disease, that may be a different case. So the main advice that Dr. Esselstyn and many other doctors, including Dr. McDougall, if you continue reading, maybe you have already seen it in the book, is that let's chew our food because our systems are made to chew food. Let's remember that these machines that we have now, that juice or that make smoothies that have these blades that go at 1,000 revolutions per second, they did not exist. Let's not even say thousands of years ago, or let's not even say hundreds of years ago. These are modern inventions. So let's chew our food, because there is a mechanism when chewing, since our bodies are so perfectly constructed and everything works so perfectly in harmony. There are processes that happen when chewing that really are beneficial to our bodies. You might want to go to Google and search on the benefits of chewing the food. We're not going to talk about that here because we're focusing on the books, The Starch Solution. But I wanted to address that question, and remembering that the big umbrella under all of this is WFPB. So whole food, plant-based. We're focusing it, of course, in all the food that comes from plants, but also on the word whole. And that to me is the key word in all of this. We want whole food in as much the original form as possible. The more I can recognize the food, an apple, I can see the apple. The more I can recognize the potato, I can see the potato. The more, the closer to the actual shape of the food, the least processed, the better. The key word here is, again, is whole food, plant-based. So another question is it all right to juice? And he says, do not juice. Fructose, the sugar in fruit, is separated from the fiber in juicing, and it is rapidly absorbed. This is injurious. You lose the benefits of fiber, which is best obtained by eating the whole fruit or vegetable. Chew your food, especially your greens, especially your greens. Remember what the point, what the reason of the fiber is. The reason that we want water and fiber, besides creating volume so that we feel satisfied, is that it regulates how the blood how the sugar enters our bloodstream. The fiber regulates that. The fiber also helps us get rid of contaminants that we have in the, so it's a way to purify our body. So there are many amazing benefits of fiber. That could be another homework for you, to go to Google and research about the benefits of fiber. So one more question, is it okay to drink coconut water? Well, coconut water is 8% saturated fat. You don't want saturated fat if you can avoid it. And about 50% sugar. So when you have a glass of this water, just imagine that half of that glass is sugar. Save your money and don't buy it. That's what Dr. Esselstyn says. All right, very good. Another little announcement here is that I would love to start, once we're done with this, maybe we'll take a mini vacation of like 1 or 2 weeks. I would love to start a new book by Dr. McDougall. Maybe many of you have already read it, and it is called The Healthiest Diet on the Planet. I am not sure if this is in electronic form. I have the actual book here. There is a nice gift inside this book, in the middle of it. And I think that this will be a wonderful addition to, and it will reinforce what we learn. It will add to it. There will be new recipes, and then we'll talk about that little gift that is inside the book. Okay, And lastly, I would like to share with you a very easy soup that I tried this week. And it was truly amazing and a brilliant combination and so easy to make. This is a quinoa corn chowder. Okay, so quinoa is a rare plant food that is a complete protein source. This is quite, wonderful. I don't know if you knew this, but quinoa is a rare case of a plant food that has all of the 20 amino acids. This is quite incredible, including the 10 essential acids that um, our body doesn't produce on its own. So, for a food that operates like a grain, quinoa seeds boast a great protein to carbohydrate ratio. So, and this soup that I'm going to share with you has quinoa, and I just as you watch this in the replay, you can pause the video and read about all of the minerals and vitamins and everything that the quinoa has. Is quite an amazing plant food. Okay, the other thing that this soup has is potato. Yeah, so how wonderful this is. We already have two sources of starch, and again, you can then later on look at this and look how little fat this has, and the protein and all the vitamins and minerals of potatoes. It also has corn because it's quinoa and corn chowder. And my goodness, look at the other source of starch. We have so far three sources of starch, a lot of minerals and vitamins. We also have carbohydrates and some healthy fats and protein. Another of the ingredients is onions. And again, I just wanted to show you all the benefits that onions have. And I 99% of the time that I cook, I start with onions and garlic. These are ingredients can never, they can never be missing from my kitchen. Okay, garlic is almost a miraculous food. And here we have some of the nutrition information. Later on, you can read it in detail. And we also have spinach here in this recipe. And of course, spinach is packed with powerful nutrients and is an excellent source of folate and vitamin A and iron and vitamin K. And of course, it has fiber and magnesium and calcium. And it also has jalapeno. This can be left out. I left it out and use another kind of pepper, but it depends how much spice you like. So let me give you the recipe and tell you. I was going to make it here, but today it was a crazy day and I did not have time to get everything together to show you. But this is how it goes. You get half a cup of quinoa and you rinse it really well. Quinoa can be very, very bitter. And one time I forgot to do this and I cooked it and then I could not eat it because it was so bitter. So you need to rinse it. I rinse it 4 or 5 times in the running water. So half a cup of quinoa. This is dry quinoa, okay? And then 4 cups of vegetable broth. If you don't have vegetable broth, which I didn't, I just used water. If I use vegetable broth, I either make it myself or I make sure that I am buying vegetable broth with very low or no sodium, because some of these vegetable broths can be extremely high in sodium. All right, then you need 2 cups of water. So four of the vegetable broth plus 2 of water, that's already 6. Okay, so it could be just 6 cups of water, 2 to 4 cloves of garlic minced. Again, this is up to you, as much garlic as you want, but 2 to 4 is the recipe. 1 large onion. I chopped a pretty large onion, and the onion is chopped. 2.5 cups of fingerling potatoes cut into bite-sized pieces. I didn't have that kind of potato. Use any kind you have, okay? But you've got to cut it in little, small. I prefer small cubes, and it's about 2 to 2.5 cups. Then 2 jalapeno peppers, seeded and minced, 2 of them. You might want to try 1 if you don't like a lot of hot, spicy taste, or you may leave it out and put a green pepper. And then 2 cups of frozen corn. Now, you don't have to use frozen corn. You can use just you can steam regular corn and you just use that. But it's 2 cups of frozen corn and 4 cups of sliced fresh spinach. I chopped the spinach and it was fresh, and it's 4 cups. And then if you use any kind of other spicy, but really this is supposed to be a simple and elegant, delicate soup. And I didn't put a lot of anything really. I put pepper. You could add salt and pepper. And remember, if you add salt, to add it right when you put it in your bowl to eat it, because when it's put it on your food, you can taste it much easier. It hits the tongue and you don't need a lot. You don't want to put it in the food while it's cooking, because it dissipates and then you will add more, and it's just too much sodium. So you basically put all of these ingredients, other than the spinach, you put them in a large pot, for a soup pot, and you bring it to a boil. You reduce the heat, and you cover and you cook for 20 minutes. Okay. And well, I personally, I think it's more like half an hour, 30 to even 35 minutes. And then it's done. And all you have to do, what I did is I put the chopped spinach in the bowl, like a bed, and then on top of that, I put the soup. This combination of the quinoa, which is very fluffy and soft, and it doesn't really have that much taste. It enhances the corn and it makes it really creamy. I did not process it. You might like it. I don't know if you want to make it creamy. The corn, you could actually see the kernels, and that was fine. So it was absolutely delicious. If you do this in an instant pot, instead of 30 or 40 minutes, it's going to take you about 8 minutes. And that's it, 8 at the most, 6 to 8 minutes. And that's it. You can eat it like that. You can put it on a potato. You can eat it as a side. It was just delicious. Actually, it can be eaten hot or cold. All right, I hope you got it. And if not, while you're watching the replay, you might jot it down. Actually, I had this soup when I attended the 10-day program in Santa Rosa, California, at the McDougall Health Center. And then I have made it many, many times. It is on Dr. McDougall's website. So if you go to drmcdougalls.com and you type quinoa chowder in the recipe section, you will find it there as well. But I wanted to tell you about that because I call it a starch bomb. You have quinoa, you have corn, you have potatoes, you have 6 cups of water, you have fiber and all of these amino acids and vitamins and minerals. It's just an amazing soup. Okay, I hope that you will try it and let me know how you liked it. Yes, it was half cup of quinoa, just a half a cup, because quinoa, it just expands and gets fluffy and delicious. You don't need much. Then, of course, after you try it one time, you might want to add more quinoa or less quinoa. You can start making variations if you like, but it's a wonderful soup. All right, so let's go. Let's go to our book and talk about how we finished. Let's see here. Hold on just a minute. We finished chapter 10 last week, which talked about the fat vegan. And just to bring it to a close, it was talking about all of these highly processed foods, cheeses and meats and oils, and that some vegans use. And I think I mentioned how I don't consider myself vegan, because vegan has many other connotations other than the food. Yes, I'm vegan, yes, in some way, but really I am a whole food, plant-based, you know, coach, and I'm a whole food, plant-based follower, more than vegan, because in chapter 10 we could see how many of these products that are highly processed are as detrimental or even more than the animal version of these products. So the main thing, again, to underline when we're always looking for our food is whole food, like this soup that I just mentioned. You can recognize the corn. You look at it and you see the quinoa. You look at it, you see the potatoes. You might even see the little pieces of onion. Everything is recognizable. It's in its original whole food form. That's what we want. Okay, so that was the chapter 10, to make it really short, although it's a wonderful chapter to read and reread. And now we're going into chapter 11, which is about supplements. And again, Dr. McDougall only recommends one supplement, and that's B12, and we will see why. All right, so, okay, just to be on the safe side, stay away from supplements, Dr. McDougall says. And one of the main concepts that I got out of this and out of his lectures and many of the conversations that I was able to have one-on-one with Dr. McDougall is that the problem that we have with supplements is the isolated, and that's the key word here, isolated, concentrated nutrients. And that our bodies are not designed to take these isolated nutrients. It's designed to take them in this package that is perfectly made, perfectly designed, so that there is a synergy of these nutrients, and one complements the other, one activates the other. And when we isolate them, our bodies get overwhelmed, and in many cases, as Dr. McDougall explains, it causes damage. So it says that these concentrated nutrients are said to offset the effects of destructive habits. So this is what the industry is saying. Take these vitamins, take these supplements, because they're going to offset all of your destructive habits that you have, and it will cure your poor health. And so basically you can eat all the junk food, the trash you want, and almost effortlessly and naturally, and with little or no side effects, you will be magically cured and it will have this vibrant health. So, enormous profits motivate companies to keep these supplements on the market, whether or not they're effective. The consumer's desire for a quick fix, which is something that we all humans want, So the consumer's desire for a quick fix to health problems guarantees steady sales. Yeah, of course. So the other paragraph that I highlighted here, Dr. McDougall is asking you, have you seen any of those friends that you may have or family suffering from all of these illnesses that are caused by excesses like clogged arteries, heart disease, high blood pressure, arthritis, diabetes? Have you seen any of these people being cured, or these illnesses being significantly reduced by taking supplements? I don't know about you, but I haven't. Have any of them cured, and the word here is cure, their arthritis and hypertension and colitis or type 2 diabetes with vitamins and minerals? I'm quite sure they have not. And Dr. McDougall says, I never hear about miraculous results from supplements. But what I do hear every day, whether by telephone, email, or in person, are reports from those who have achieved amazing health improvements by adopting a starch-based diet along with a little exercise and some sunshine. So I don't know about you, but I really like to study things. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail because I don't know how much detail you want, but what are they? So vitamins are organic compounds that cannot be synthesized by the body. In order to remain healthy, we must take in these vitamins by eating food. So there are 13 known vitamins. There are only 2 that plants don't make. So think about these. There are 13 vitamins that we need and our bodies cannot make, or they cannot be synthesized by our bodies. Out of these 13, the plants make 11 of them, but there are 2 that plants don't make. And I might add here a little parenthesis and remind you that actually there is a plant. I don't really know if it falls under the category of a plant. I would think so. That is mushrooms. Mushrooms have significant amounts of vitamin D, but 99.9% of the plants don't make vitamin D and don't make vitamin B12. And actually, very interesting is that vitamin D is actually not a vitamin at all, but rather a hormone that the body produces when we expose our skin to sunlight. So vitamin B12 is more complicated. Neither plants nor animals synthesize it. Rather, it is produced by bacteria. B12 is then stored in animal tissue. So one way we can get it, obviously, is by eating meat. In addition to vitamins, we get all of our minerals by eating plants. These minerals are in the soil. And of course, the plants draw them up into their stems and the leaves that we eat and the flowers and the fruits through their root systems. By eating plants and spending a little time in the sun, we get all the vitamins and minerals we need, with the exception of vitamin B12. If you eat no animal products at all, or foods that have been fortified with B12, then that's the one vitamin supplement you should seriously consider taking. So in this chapter that we're reading, the word supplement is focused on isolated, concentrated vitamins and minerals, rather than the natural remedies such as, let's say, St. John's wort or ginkgo biloba or glucosamine or ginger or the like. Those don't fall in this chapter under the group of supplements that Dr. McDougall is talking about. And I love this next section where he talks about the perfect harmony of plants. I love it. So he says that we take in nutrition from whole foods by breaking them apart with our teeth. And I want to underline with our teeth, not with very sharp blades of a machine, and through preparing and cooking them, then swallowing and digesting them. As we digest our food, its nutrients flow through our bloodstream to our 10 trillion cells. Did you know that we had 10 trillion cells? Components of this nutrient-rich blood pass through the cell membranes into the cell's inner fluid or cytoplasm. If too few or too many of any of these nutrients of the digested and assimilated food are present within the cell, then imbalances occur, resulting in less than optimal function at the cellular level, followed by disease. I think we should get a red marker or red pen here, put a big star, a big box, and I think we should even memorize this. So I'm going to take the liberty to read it to you one more time. If too few or too many of any of the nutrients of the digested and assimilated food are present within the cell, then imbalances occur, resulting in less than optimal function at the cellular level, followed by disease. Scientists barely understand the orchestrations that take place between our foods and our bodies, but they do recognize that perfect harmony exists. And I love this, of course, because as a professional musician, I see two words here. One is orchestration, an orchestra that is perfectly synchronized and to make beautiful music, and also the word harmony. This is as opposed to dissonant, something that doesn't quite fit or go along or sound good. Harmony. If you add a little too much of this and not enough of that by manipulating the individual nutrients, by taking vitamin pills, the cell's metabolisms become very unbalanced. This is so very important. Eventually, these imbalances can lead to heart disease, cancers, and early death. Now, Dr. McDougall will go on to include several studies, which I'm going to move along because these studies you can definitely read on your own. Talk a little bit about how a pill is not a plant. This may sound kind of a little bit silly to say that a pill is not a plant, but you would be amazed at how many people really think that taking a pill is the same as eating a plant. And it's just, there couldn't be any more different things than those two. So here you have quite a few studies, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beta carotene is one of those terms that you should know about because it's a very important element to fight cancer. And it's one of about 50 similar naturally occurring active substances in our diet, classified as carotenoids, that are especially abundant in colorful fruits and vegetables. After nutrients move into the cytoplasm, they attach themselves to the cellular machinery through a specific receptor, the way a key fits into a lock. I love it how Dr. McDougall put things in everyday language. So you can imagine these nutrients entering the cell and attaching themselves to the machinery inside the cell, and they attach to a very specific receptor, the way that a key fits into a lock. So beta carotene, like all of the other biologically active carotenoids, must attach to these specific carotenoid receptors before it can function. It's kind of like inactive until it can attach. When a cell is flooded, think about this. You have this little cell there, and you flood it with just one type of element. In this case, beta carotene, let's say, from vitamin supplementation. There is overwhelming competition for the carotenoid receptor sites. So the other 49 functional carotenoids are displaced by the beta carotene from their cellular connections, creating deadly nutritional imbalance. So it cannot be explained any better or any clearer how these imbalances occur when we flood a cell with one type of nutrient, and how that eventually causes deadly nutritional imbalances. So, there are randomized controlled trials involving more than 150,000 subjects that have proven that taking these and other supplements actually increases your risk for heart disease and cancer and premature death. Studies of supplement use have also reported more fractures in women at risk of osteoporosis, damage to the kidneys and in diabetes, and an increase in the severity of respiratory infections. So now we have all of these studies, which come from prestigious publications, and you have supplements do not reduce and may increase cancer. They may do not reduce and may increase heart disease, also damage in the kidneys, fractures in the elderly, respiratory infections, which in these times of the coronavirus, we definitely don't need. And then talking about the sales pitch, which I heard many times, because at one time I was very much into the industry of supplements. And I remember the depleted soils sales pitch. And Dr. McDougall says, you must take supplements because the soil these days is in very poor condition. So the crops you eat were grown in soil that has been drained of its nutrients from years of over farming. Now the foods that grow in them are also deficient in vitamins and minerals. So he says, this is simply not true. If a plant is going to bear roots, seeds, flowers, and or fruits fit for sale in your market, then it is going to have to produce all of the organic chemicals that are necessary for its own survival. We call the plant-derived organic chemicals vital for human nutrition vitamins. Mineral deficiency from depleted soil is theoretically possible, but highly unlikely to affect anyone living in a modern society. Your risk of suffering from mineral deficiency caused by depleted soil is so incredibly small that a single case would make national headlines. That's because you eat foods grown in a wide variety of soil. And again, this is one of those sentences that I like to really, really underline. We now, in our modern age, we eat food generally grown in a wide variety of soil. Corn grown in Nebraska, grapes from Chile, bananas from Panama, and so forth. In the unlikely chance that one food was low in a mineral due to depleted soil, your next bite would likely contain an abundant supply. All right, so vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. So he explained how the best is to say vitamin D. Okay, first, it is actually a hormone and not a vitamin. Okay. Second, we get it not from eating food, but rather than exposure to sunlight. The problem is that drinking milk and taking calcium pills are both harmful practices, as we learned in chapter 8. I don't recommend doing either. So how will you get enough vitamin D? Go outside. Sunshine is the best way. So let's see. Let's look at the average person living in the United States produces about 90% of his or her vitamins from sunlight. And I like this here, that your body stores in your body fat the extra vitamin D that you may get, and you produce during the sunniest months of the year, and then slowly releases it during the darker months. You don't have to have sunlight 365 days a year. So, important information here. For white people, exposing a large part of the skin to the summer sun for 20 to 30 minutes at one time provides about 10,000 international units of vitamin D. The Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition and the National Institutes of Health recommend 200 international units daily. So you can see how 10,000 units is far more than enough. In spring, summer, and fall, exposing the hands, face, and arms to the noontime sun for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, not every day, is plenty for light-skinned people. Now, people of Asian or Indian descent may require 3 times as much sun during similar conditions. So instead of 5 minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And those of African descent, 10 times as much. So that's important information there for the reader. So sunlight directly alerts the immune system, modulates other hormones, and changes the number of functions of skin cells. All right, let's move on. Just this is for you to read. I want to go ahead. I want to mention this because nowadays everybody seems to be deficient in vitamin D. Based on the current standards of normal 30 or more nanograms per millimeter, between 50 and 90% of adults and children are considered deficient in vitamin D. Even people who get quite a lot of sun exposure cannot meet this standard. My wife, Mary, recently had her vitamin D level tested shortly after a spring and summer of abundant California sunshine and a July trip to Costa Rica, where she spent long hours sunbathing. Her vitamin D level was a hair short of the recommendation at 29.6 nanograms per millimeter. Many well-meaning doctors would have told her to take a vitamin D supplement, perhaps for a lifetime. All right, so Dr. McDougall says, I believe a level of 20 or more is adequate. Most children and adults already meet this target. If your test comes back with a level below 20, I suggest the first thing you do is take a second test to rule out laboratory error. If it is still under 20, try spending more time in the sun and test again before considering something so drastic and potentially dangerous as taking vitamin D supplement. Today, if you have 20 to 29, it's considered insufficient, but the standards are going higher and higher. I believe the industry has something to do. Then they can sell vitamin D to everyone. And tanning beds are actually pretty good to help obtain vitamin D. Read this section because it has good information. And when consumed as isolated, concentrated nutrients, vitamin D supplements cause nutritional imbalances that can lead to illness, as we talked earlier. All right. And then we're going to cover the vitamin B12. I do have a little gift at the end for you, and I want to get to that. And this is the one thing that meat eaters may use to say that a whole food plant-based diet is not good because of the deficiency in vitamin B12. And so defending eating habits seems to be a primal instinct. These days, Westerners are running out of excuses for their gluttony. Well-read people no longer believe meat is necessary to meet our protein needs, or that milk is the favored source of calcium. With the crumbling of these two time-honored battlefronts, the vitamin B12 issue has become the trendy argument against being vegan. So here, Dr. McDougall says our daily requirement is less than 3 micrograms. A microgram, so that you know, is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. By design, we need to be exposed to only minuscule amounts of this essential nutrient. Typically, the liver stores 2 to 5 milligrams of B12, at least a 3-year reserve. This means it could take you 20 to 30 years after adopting a vegan diet to become B12 deficient. And this is assuming that you take in no new vitamin B12, which is all but impossible, since even on a vegan diet, you will take some in B12 through bacterial sources on your food, in your gut and in your environment, and even if you aren't trying. So where does it come from? He explains it, and I'm just going to keep going, but here's something important. The colon contains the greatest number of bacteria and is where most of our intestinal B12 is produced. The effects of B12 deficiency are observed first in the blood and then in the nervous system. In the blood, the deficiency shows up as megaloblastic anemia, characterized by very large blood cells. Okay, let's see. The most common nervous system symptoms of B12 deficiency are numbness and tingling in the hands and feet. In the early stages of the deficiency, these neurological problems are entirely reversible. However, prolonged and severe deficiency can cause more serious and lasting nerve damage. So, what is the recommendation? The recommendation here is that when you go to purchase a supplement, you will find that the pills sold in stores typically contain not 5 micrograms, which we need of this B12, 5 micrograms per day, but they contain 500 to 5,000 micrograms. These high concentrations are meant to correct B12 deficiency in people who may be unable to absorb it normally. Fortunately, for the rest of us, these excessive quantities of B12 appear to be safe and non-toxic. If you are an otherwise healthy vegan and are using typical dosages of B12, 500 micrograms or more per pill, A weekly rather than daily dose of this vitamin will be more than sufficient. So basically, what he's saying is take a pill once a week of 500 micrograms. And he says, check the bottle because B12 comes in two forms. One is, and I have trouble reading these long words, cyanocobalamin, which some researchers have questioned for treating vitamin B12 deficiency, especially neurological problems. The methylcobalamin or hydrox, I'm not even going to attempt. You're probably laughing at me. Forms of B12 are better choices. Okay, so maybe make a little note there, highlight that. You want the methyl form or the hydro form of the vitamin if possible, if you can find those. Also, note that the B12-like substances found in food supplements such as spirulina and other algae are ineffective and not a reliable source or substitute for vitamin B12. Now, there are 45 foods that come with B12, like some nutritional yeast. And of course, there is a seaweed that is called nori that is used to wrap as a wrap to make sushi rolls, and that of course can be made with vegetables and brown rice rather than fish, and it has been found to contain substantial amounts of vitamin B12. If you have any question about B12 status, I suggest that you check your B12 levels through blood testing, and I definitely think that Dr. McDougall here, he's always right in what he recommends. And so I want to highlight that I would, if I were you, I would have my B12 levels tested every 3 years. I believe that's the end of that chapter. And next week, for our next and last session, we will talk about salt and sugar being the scapegoats for a lot of the illnesses that we have today, rather than concentrating on all the animal products. Okay, so I want to clarify, because I don't know if I said that, smoothies are not unhealthy. It's not like you're eating all this cholesterol and and fat and free radicals. It's not unhealthy. It's just that doctors that are whole food plant-based, they want you to chew your food. It also has an effect on the how you feel full after a while. It's not the same eating, let's say, 3 apples, which I find hard to do because I usually can eat 1. I might be able to eat 2 apples, but if I put that apple in a food processor and I make some kind of smoothie, it comes out to this. I don't know if you've tried it. I saw it while I was at Chef AJ's house one time, and she was doing a demonstration. So I can eat 3 apples like that, and I won't feel full because the volume is really small. But the volume that the 3 apples have, with all the fiber intact and everything, the water and everything, it will fill me up more. And the fiber will help regulate the blood, the sugar in the bloodstream. So it's not that it's unhealthy, it's just that it's better to chew your food. Now, for some people, like Dr. Esselstyn is mentioning, it would be unhealthy because of their poor health condition. All right. I have a little surprise for you. And a few weeks ago, I helped a friend of mine, film a video. Catherine Lawrence from foodsavedme.com, who is also a food instructor for the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and has so much experience in dealing with disease and food. She created this video that I helped her film, and it's called Immune System Boosters and Busters. And it is a wonderful video. It's about 30 minutes long, and I will be very nice and send you the handout that comes with the video with the recipes. Because first she talks about immune system and food and gives you invaluable information. And then she prepares some recipes that will help you boost your immune system. And I will send you the handout at absolutely no cost to you. I appreciate it very much. I hope that next week we will have a little party to finish our book club. Make sure you read the last, let's see, that would be chapter 12. Maybe read 12 and 13. And I will see you all next week. So here is the video. Have a great weekend, everyone, and thank you for joining me.